Cynthia Lummis is a politician leading the discussion of the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill, and she's finally starting to share some realistic terms for implementation. 4 words: Federal Reserve gold certificates. While Hopium dealers will spin this in a way that will seemingly pump your bags more, you probably want to watch this video if you want a more realistic breakdown of how the USA's venture into Bitcoin will likely shake out. It's Sir Ulric, and are you down with the underground? Now it's 2025, and as impactful as Sailor and MicroStrategy is for buying pressure, let's be honest, everyone's attention is turned to the US government to see if they'll establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, before the end of the year, Senator Lummis proposed a solution for acquiring a significant amount of Bitcoin with minimal government spending impact. But first, are you aware of the gold certificates on the Federal Reserve balance sheet? The Federal Reserve claims slightly more than $11 billion in gold certificates, representing all of the gold possessed by the US Treasury. But there's a catch. That 11 billion certificates do not track the market value of gold. Rather, they're fixed at $42.42 per ounce, which is in line with the US Treasury's 1973 revaluation of gold. The real market price of gold right now is $2,650 per ounce. Now, assuming the US government hasn't sold off all its gold to China when no one was looking, that means the US Treasury has claimed to about $693 billion worth of gold. So back to Lummis. The senator added a wrinkle to her SBR plan that would essentially use these gold certificates to fund the purchase of Bitcoin. Let's check out Lummis's clip word for word. And as you're watching, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Stick with the Pleb Underground for 2025 as we break through the noise on all fronts.
About a strategic Bitcoin reserve or strategic Bitcoin stockpile, where the United States would acquire and hold Bitcoin for 20 years. Because of the way that Bitcoin has been appreciating since inception, this would be an asset that could help shore up the US dollar as the world reserve currency and serve as a reserve that could be used to reduce the national debt significantly. You know, the American people are still hurting from inflation, from high prices, and they want the national debt reduced. These are ways to do it with an asset that is immutable, can easily be held by the federal government in a variety of vaults, and that states can participate in as well. So this is the gold standard digital asset, and a strategic Bitcoin reserve is the way to embed it.
You know, we got off the gold standard a long time ago. My question is how much you would spend tax dollars at a time when we're talking about trying to reduce costs. How much would you spend on Bitcoin as part of this reserve?
We wouldn't have to spend any new dollars. We have reserves at our 12 Federal Reserve banks, including gold certificates that could be converted to current fair market value. They're held at their 1970s value on the books, and then sell them into Bitcoin. That way, we wouldn't have to use any new dollars in order to establish this reserve. The United States already holds over 200,000 Bitcoin in the asset forfeiture funds. So that would be the initial source of Bitcoin. So no new money spent on this reserve.
You know, it weirds me out watching that video and finally talking about it with y'all. And I'm just cold reading here, but she doesn't seem too confident about what she's talking about. I don't think she actually fully believes in the SBR bill. It almost seems like she's pressured, like pressured on the language choice or the promotion frequency, like someone in the background that we don't see. It's telling her that the market has to be continually reminded about the SBR bill. You don't get that feeling? I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that sometime in the future. But reading between the lines aside, I think the most noteworthy facet of this potential action here is the market sentiment impact of the biggest official gold owner in the world divesting some or most of their gold. And what does that do to the reputation of gold as stable if the strongest country in the world jumps ship? Would gold bugs reconsider their fervor for an inefficient relic of the past? I think they would. Gold's market cap at the beginning of 2025 is $18 trillion. Now, regardless of the amount of US Treasury gold exchanged for Bitcoin at any point in the near future, the free market is going to react to such a move, and it wouldn't be surprising to see as much as 10% of that market cap transferred into Bitcoin right away, just as a market reaction. Now, here's something else to consider. Did you know the USA has confiscated hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin in the past? They're currently sitting on just below 200,000 Bitcoin under the authority of the US Marshals Service. While this Bitcoin is traditionally destined for public auction, Lummis suggests they should stop immediately and transfer ownership of them to the US Treasury. Now, this is of course horrible news for anyone that was expecting the US to expend monetary energy to acquire their Bitcoin. I mean, there would essentially be no price action. You would have Bitcoin in one address and move to another. Heck, I mean, the person at the US Marshals Service may just give the keys to the US Treasury office. I mean, if anything, this may actually create negative market sentiment, like many new holders are here over the last year to front run the promised expected price action of a big government taking coins off the exchange. I mean, imagine you with your speculator hat on. If you expect 200K coins valued at 100K a piece to be purchased, and all of a sudden that goes to zero. How does that impact your speculation mindset? Now, speaking of pumping bags, did you notice something else from Cynthia Lummis? Or maybe I should say something missing. Now, if you look up the formal bill, S.4912 Bitcoin Act of 2024, Section 5.A.1.A says, quote, purchase not more than 200,000 Bitcoins per year over a 5-year period for a total acquisition of 1 million Bitcoins. But if you listen to Lummis in recent months, she's completely removed that critical component from her narrative. It's almost like if this bill from July 2024 didn't exist on congress.gov, she would have full plausible deniability. And you can check both her Twitter accounts. The phrase just simply isn't there. And isn't it funny the narrative has so quickly and deftly changed from we're gonna buy Bitcoin until we reach 1 million and it doesn't matter the price to look how easily and cheaply we can acquire Bitcoin for our stockpile. Now, please don't tell me that won't affect mainstream adoption or market speculation, because it will. So let's talk for a minute about the $690 billion worth of gold that can be dumped to potentially buy Bitcoin. You know, gold has a strong symbolic importance to the US economy, and most people outside of Bitcoin's echo chamber just haven't figured out they're living amidst the great monetary revolution and evolution. So let's just lay this one out here. There's no way that Congress will ever be convinced to dump all the Treasury's gold to buy Bitcoin. But I do believe they can be convinced to convert 5% of their gold holdings to Bitcoin if they were to follow Fidelity's recommended portfolio allocation. In this instance, the total portfolio is only Bitcoin and gold, but that still means $35 billion of potential purchasing power, or roughly 2% of the entire Bitcoin supply at today's market cap. Now, while it's about 400,000 coins now, due to the market fluctuating primarily upward, and depending on the rate of purchases, which will certainly be slow, it is the government, that 35 billion could acquire maybe a total of 200,000 to 300,000 Bitcoin. Now, let me ask you, is this bullish? You gotta agree, this is definitely a yes. But is this bullish in context of the original bill language? That would be a no. But I will say this, it is realistic. You have the strongest country in the world deciding they can handle the risk of adopting a new type of strategic asset before any other global superpower. And, you know, because Senator Lummis has dropped the narrative of the US buying 1 million Bitcoin, you probably should look critically at the sources that will still continue to push this new form of moonboyism. Why are they saying this when she isn't? Another thing to consider is it's likely this purchase will not be right away. Decision makers will surely spread the purchases over time to minimize market impact. Take a look at El Salvador, 1 Bitcoin per day since forever. And then after that IMF loan, they decided to up that to 11 Bitcoin per day. a bold message to the fiat institution they won't soon forget. In conclusion, I think it's important to pay attention to the evolution of people's words. Let's not forget, Lummis is not a pleb. She's a politician that wants to strengthen the dollar.
It's not a threat to the dollar, by the way.
This would be an asset that could help shore up the US dollar as the world reserve currency.
If you focus on the hype statement alone, you ignore time as a variable, influential no-coiner politicians, and the psychology of using pie-in-the-sky narratives to gather emotional support. The United States is not going to buy 1 million Bitcoin, but it is clear they are interested in getting some, just in case it catches on. I am Sir Ulric, like my father before me. The USA seriously considering buying Bitcoin as a strategic asset? We told you so.